The day a narcissist begins to crumble doesn't come with fireworks. It comes quietly, often unnoticed by others, but deeply felt within themselves. It happens when the one person they relied on most, the empath, no longer offers comfort, explanations, or forgiveness. Instead, the empath simply steps back. This shift feels like an earthquake to the narcissist, because their entire control depended on that support. For so long, the empath played the role of healer and rescuer. Every insult, every manipulation, every cruel outburst was met with patience and compassion. The narcissist counted on it, believing it would never end. But the moment the empath realizes their kindness is being weaponized, everything changes. They stop saving the narcissist. And that's when the collapse begins, slowly but surely. The narcissist thrives on being soothed after chaos. They lash out, then rely on the empath to patch the wounds they created. But when the empath refuses to step in, the narcissist feels the sting of their own actions. There is no soft landing, no shield, no rescue. The silence is louder than words, and it shakes the narcissist to their core. What makes this day so devastating is that the narcissist never expected it. They believed the empath's love was endless, that no matter how much pain they caused, forgiveness would always follow. But the empath's heart grows tired. When they finally say, "Enough," the narcissist loses their greatest advantage, the ability to exploit kindness as a safety net for their behavior. At first, the narcissist tries to dismiss it. They tell themselves the empath is being dramatic, that they'll come back soon. But deep down, fear creeps in. They know something is different this time. The empath's eyes no longer plead, their words no longer beg, their heart no longer bends. The narcissist senses control slipping, and panic quietly sets in. The empath, once the source of endless emotional supply, becomes unavailable. The narcissist sends messages, makes calls, or stages crises to pull them back. But the empath no longer bites the bait. They've seen the cycle too many times before. The refusal to respond cuts deeper than any argument could, because it shows the narcissist their power is fading. This crumbling doesn't happen overnight, but it's unstoppable once it begins. The narcissist starts to feel restless, irritable, and exposed. Their mask, which relied on the empath's constant repair work, begins to crack. Without someone to fix the pieces, others start noticing the flaws. Their carefully crafted image weakens, and that loss feels unbearable. They can't hide it anymore. 8. Meanwhile, the empath grows stronger. With every day they refuse to save the narcissist, they reclaim more of their energy. What once went into soothing someone else now fuels their own healing. This transformation is the narcissist's worst nightmare. Watching the empath thrive without them is proof that their control was never permanent. It was borrowed, and now it's gone. The narcissist often responds with anger. They may lash out, insult, or accuse the empath of being selfish. But these words fall flat. The empath no longer engages. Their calm silence becomes the most powerful weapon. Anger can't penetrate peace, and that realization drives the narcissist deeper into collapse. Their usual tactics no longer work, leaving them powerless. As days turn into weeks, the narcissist spirals into desperation. They try charm, promises, even tears, hoping to pull the empath back into their orbit. But the empath has learned to see through the act. They understand that charm is manipulation in disguise. Refusing to save the narcissist now feels like freedom, and that freedom becomes the ultimate trigger for the narcissist's downfall. The narcissist begins to feel the weight of loneliness. They once believed they could replace the empath with ease, but no new connection satisfies them. Other people don't offer the same patience, the same depth of care. Without the empath's constant rescuing, the narcissist feels exposed. Their world becomes smaller, and their ability to maintain control over others weakens. This emptiness terrifies them. The empath's silence becomes a mirror. Every cruel word, every manipulative tactic, every false promise now echoes back at the narcissist. They are forced to sit with their own behavior, something they've avoided for years. Without someone absorbing the pain, the narcissist is left with nothing but the consequences. This reflection is unbearable because it strips away their illusions of superiority. When the empath stops saving them, the narcissist also loses their excuse. For years, they've blamed others for their actions. But now there is no one to shoulder the responsibility, no one to take the blame or to smooth over the damage. The narcissist is left standing alone in the wreckage of their choices, and the silence points directly at them. In desperation, the narcissist often begins a smear campaign. They spread lies about the empath, hoping to provoke a reaction. But the empath doesn't respond. This refusal infuriates the narcissist because it robs them of control over the narrative. People begin to question the narcissist's version of events. Their credibility starts to crumble, just as their inner world already has. The empath's decision to stop saving is not about revenge, it's about survival. They finally recognize that rescuing a narcissist only destroys themselves. By walking away, they reclaim their peace, their energy, and their sense of self. This choice, though painful, is powerful. It forces the narcissist to face the truth. Without the empath, their world has no anchor. The narcissist may cycle through emotions, anger, charm, self-pity, but nothing works. The empath remains unmoved, firm in their decision. This emotional detachment is devastating. The narcissist thrives on emotional responses, and the absence of them feels like starvation. Their collapse deepens because for the first time, they realize there is nothing left they can do to regain control. As the collapse worsens, the narcissist begins to feel irrelevant. They once believed they were the center of the empath's universe, but now they see they were only borrowing the empath's energy. Without it, they fade into the background. This irrelevance is worse than anger or hatred. It makes them invisible, and invisibility is the one thing a narcissist cannot tolerate. The empath's healing process highlights the narcissist's downfall even more. As the empath grows stronger, the narcissist grows weaker. The contrast is painful for them to witness. What they thought was dependence turns out to be strength. The empath thrives without them, while they crumble without the empath. This reversal of roles is the final proof that their control was never real. The narcissist may try to reappear in the empath's life, acting as though nothing happened. But the empath no longer plays along. They see through the mask, and they don't feel the same pull anymore. This rejection is crushing because it confirms what the narcissist fears most. The empath's love was not infinite. They pushed too far, and now the door is closed. Ultimately, the day a narcissist crumbles is the day the empath decides to save themselves. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, it's quiet and final. The empath steps out of the role of rescuer, leaving the narcissist to face their own shadow. This collapse is permanent, because once the empath is done, they never go back. And that truth becomes the narcissist's greatest defeat. The narcissist begins to spiral into self-pity. They tell themselves they were the victim, that the empath abandoned them unfairly. But deep down, they know the truth. They pushed too far. Self-pity becomes a mask to cover shame, but it doesn't ease their collapse. Instead, it traps them in a loop where they replay the loss over and over without resolution. At this stage, the narcissist often seeks new supply. They rush into other relationships or surround themselves with admirers, hoping to replace the empath's devotion. Yet nothing feels the same. The depth of the empath's care can't be duplicated. Every new attempt feels shallow, a painful reminder that the source of their strength was unique and now permanently gone. The empath's silence creates a ripple effect. Friends, family, and even casual acquaintances notice the shift. The narcissist can no longer hide behind the empath's defense or excuses. Without that buffer, their cracks show more clearly. Their image begins to deteriorate, leaving them scrambling to maintain appearances. The collapse is no longer just internal. It becomes visible to the outside world. The narcissist tries to rewrite the story, claiming they chose to walk away. But their actions reveal the opposite. Their desperation, their anger, their bitterness all point to the truth. They were abandoned by the very person they believed would never leave. This false narrative fools no one, and the realization makes their collapse even more humiliating. Meanwhile, the empath has shifted focus inward. They invest in healing, personal growth, and relationships that are mutual and healthy. This transformation highlights the narcissist's decline even more. Watching the empath glow with strength and peace is unbearable, because it proves the narcissist was never essential. Instead of control, they now face the shame of being irrelevant. The collapse deepens when the narcissist realizes their tricks no longer work. Gaslighting, guilt-tripping, and love-bombing once held power, but now they fall flat. The empath sees through it all. Every failed tactic feels like another crack in the narcissist's fragile armor. With each attempt that doesn't land, they grow more desperate, and the crumbling accelerates. In their desperation, they may lash out at others, spreading their anger beyond the empath. Co-workers, friends, and even strangers feel the brunt of their frustration. But this only worsens their collapse, because it isolates them further. People grow weary of their negativity and start distancing themselves. The narcissist's world shrinks, leaving them trapped in their own misery. The empath's refusal to save them forces the narcissist into uncomfortable reflection. They can no longer avoid the truth of their actions. Every silence, every boundary, every refusal echoes with accountability. For the narcissist, accountability feels like poison. It dismantles the grand image they built and leaves them staring at flaws they've spent years denying. This reflection often leads to paranoia. The narcissist imagines the empath talking about them, exposing them, or living happily without them. The thought drives them wild. They stalk social media, fish for updates, and obsess over the empath's life. But every discovery only deepens the pain, because the empath's growth is undeniable, while they remain stuck in collapse. By this point, the narcissist's collapse is undeniable. They've lost their anchor, their supply, and their mask. The empath's decision to stop saving them marks the turning point. Without someone to cushion the fall, the narcissist crashes into the reality of who they are. The day they crumble is the day the empath chooses peace, and that choice is permanent. The narcissist's collapse becomes most visible when they can no longer pretend. They try to act confident, but the cracks in their mask widen. Their words no longer match their actions, and people begin to notice. The absence of the empath's protection leaves them vulnerable. What once looked like strength now appears as desperation, and this exposure eats away at them inside. In the quiet moments, the narcissist feels the full weight of loss. Nights grow restless, mornings feel heavy, and nothing fills the emptiness. The empath's silence is a haunting reminder of everything they destroyed. They thought control was permanent, but now they see how fragile it truly was. This awareness isn't healing, it's torment. Their collapse deepens with every passing day of silence. The empath, meanwhile, flourishes. Their energy, once drained by constant rescuing, is now invested in self-love and growth. This stark contrast accelerates the narcissist's collapse. Watching the empath succeed without them feels like salt in a wound. The narcissist realizes they didn't just lose control. They lost someone who genuinely cared, and that kind of loss is irreplaceable. The narcissist tries to reassert power by finding new targets, but the emptiness remains. No one reacts quite the way the empath did, and without that emotional supply, every interaction feels hollow. The collapse is not just about losing the empath, it's about losing the illusion of invincibility. Their identity begins to erode, leaving them trapped in their own dissatisfaction. The longer the silence continues, the more fragile the narcissist becomes. They cycle between rage, despair, and false confidence, but none of it restores their power. They feel trapped in a cage of their own making, unable to break free. What they once thought was strength now feels like weakness. The collapse strips them of the image they worked so hard to maintain. At this stage, the narcissist's bitterness grows. They resent the empath for leaving, but even more, they resent themselves for losing control. This bitterness poisons their interactions with others, causing more people to distance themselves. The collapse becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more they lash out, the more isolated they become, proving the empath's silence was the right choice. The empath's strength lies in not needing revenge. They don't have to destroy the narcissist. The narcissist does that themselves. By refusing to save them, the empath ensures the collapse is complete. The narcissist is left alone with consequences they can't escape. This is what makes the empath so powerful. Their silence becomes the loudest statement, one that breaks the narcissist's illusion. As collapse deepens, the narcissist experiences shame. For years, they denied accountability, but now it presses down like a weight. They feel exposed, vulnerable, and powerless. But instead of using shame as a catalyst for growth, they often wallow in it. This inability to change makes the collapse permanent. The empath's silence has forced them into a corner they cannot escape. The narcissist may try one last desperate attempt, dramatic gestures, sudden apologies, or claims of transformation. But the empath, now stronger, sees the truth. These are not signs of change, but signs of fear. The narcissist isn't growing, they're crumbling. The empath doesn't save them this time, and the rejection confirms the collapse is irreversible. Their world continues to fall apart. Ultimately, the narcissist's crumble is their own doing. The empath simply stopped carrying the burden. Without someone to rescue them, they are forced to face the wreckage they created. This collapse is both quiet and devastating. It doesn't announce itself to the world, but it consumes them from within. And the empath, finally free, steps forward into peace and healing. Stage 41 of the narcissist's crumble is regret, but it is twisted. They don't regret the harm they caused. They regret losing control of the empath. Regret eats at them in the quiet moments, making them restless and bitter. They replay what happened, searching for ways they could have kept their grip. But the truth is clear. The empath's silence ended the cycle forever. By this point, the narcissist often feels haunted. The empath's absence is everywhere. In the calm they can't find, in the joy they can't feel, in the peace they can't create. Silence becomes a ghost, reminding them of what they destroyed. The more they try to distract themselves, the stronger the haunting becomes. Collapse isn't just emotional. It becomes psychological torment. The empath's growth adds fuel to the collapse. Seeing the empath smiling, achieving, and thriving without them is unbearable. The narcissist wanted to be the center of the empath's universe, but now they are irrelevant. That irrelevance feels like death to their ego. The more the empath shines, the more the narcissist sinks, proving that control was never theirs to begin with. Desperation makes them unpredictable. They may show up unexpectedly, send sudden messages, or attempt to stir chaos in the empath's life. But these attempts only highlight their downfall. Each ignored effort is a reminder that they no longer hold sway. Their collapse deepens with every failed attempt, as they realize the empath's boundaries are stronger than any manipulation. Isolation sets in fully. People around them grow tired of the constant negativity, the need for attention, and the drama. The narcissist, once skilled at drawing people in, finds themselves alone. Without the empath to balance or protect them, relationships fall apart. This isolation is the final stage of collapse, leaving them trapped with the one person they always ran from, themselves. The empath, meanwhile, has learned the greatest lesson. They were never responsible for saving the narcissist. Their silence wasn't cruelty, it was freedom. They no longer live in chaos, no longer waste energy on fixing the unfixable. This piece is powerful because it shows that walking away isn't weakness, it's strength. That strength is what makes the narcissist crumble completely. The narcissist may still pretend in public, but privately their world is hollow. They scroll through memories, chase temporary highs, and sink into bitterness. Nothing feels fulfilling, because nothing replaces the empath's care. This emptiness is the price of their manipulation. They thought they could use and discard endlessly, but now they live with the shadow of loss they created. What terrifies the narcissist most is that the empath is no longer afraid. Fear was their favorite weapon, but it no longer works. The empath has faced the darkness and returned it to its rightful owner. Without fear, the narcissist has no control. That shift, more than anything, marks the collapse. The game is over, and the empath walks away unshaken. The empath doesn't look back. They build a future that has no space for manipulation, abuse, or control. This forward momentum is what ensures the narcissist's crumble is permanent. The narcissist, stuck in regret and bitterness, can't move forward. Their collapse becomes a cycle, repeating endlessly. Meanwhile, the empath writes a new story, one of healing, strength, and freedom. In the end, the day a narcissist crumbles is the day the empath stops saving them. It's not dramatic, not loud. It's quiet, steady, and final. The empath chooses themselves, and that choice dismantles the narcissist's illusions completely. Their collapse is the natural consequence of their actions, and for the empath, that day isn't just an ending. It's the beginning of true liberation.